this is that I know there's an issue with septic tanks, so that we have big chunks of South Gwinnett that don't have access to the regular wastewater system in the county. And as when I talk with the county water department, they have raised that as one of the big barriers to economic development, particularly as you go south of Snellville, southern Snellville, and then below. And that's not an area that is, I think Evermore probably serves some of that area. I don't know if you would have any thoughts about that or comment on that either. But that's something I've heard about. Is that something you guys are looking at or talking about at all?
I'm going to let Jim start.
Okay.
Because I think he knows more about it than I do.
One of the things that prevents us from being able to develop land throughout the district is the lack of sewer capacity. When we put Amazon in, we obviously had to run a large line in there. Well, every time that you add something else to that line, it exacerbates the problem. So the county is looking at putting another treatment facility on the south end of the county, so it will not have to go all the way up to the Wayne Hill plant. Ma'am, we cannot do that without federal intervention. I don't know any other way to say that.
So obviously there'll be some discussion about how that works, but there is $55 billion in federal money flowing into water, wastewater. A lot of this is going to go to replace lead pipes and things like that. But there's also a lot of that can go into projects like this if that is what the community wants to do. And that was part of that infrastructure bill I'm sure that everybody heard about. And one of the reasons it's important to us is because that opens the door to being able to invest in some of those really big projects like that. Well, with that, do you all have questions? I'm happy to open the floor. Pastor Kurt.
Thank you. With that being said, so what type of project is going to replace the tennis venue? With us hearing that the southern part is on septic tanks mostly. So what is the plan for the corridor of 78? I've heard great plans for Lawrenceville and awesome. But what are the plans for the south part of 78 with that being the problem? Thank you.
Sir, you said that exactly as I told you to say. That was exactly what we have to focus on. Every time that we put in a parallel road, we put sanitary sewer in that road. That way we don't have to go back and cut that road up later on. So everywhere that we put a parallel road in, we are able to not only tie our commercial property owners into that, but those residents that are behind that, and most of those houses were built in the 60s and 70s, so their second drain field has already been used up. So that's a critical piece of what we try to do whenever we put one of these parallel roads in. The county's got a great plan though, as they begin to move that larger plant on the south end of the county, and it's going to make the capacity a lot more. Instead of pumping sludge and so forth uphill, it'll be actually a gravity-fed line. But the Gwinnett County Department of Water Resources, it's like I say about a lot of the CIDs. Most of the stuff that we do, you never see because it's underground or sidewalk or something like that.
Thank you. Do you know, and just to follow up on that, because when I talked with the Department of Water Resources, they were like, well, we would love to do this, but it's very expensive. Is there any plan to start that planning process, start that discussion with the community? And just so you all understand though, what they're talking about is putting another wastewater treatment plant down in South Gwinnett, right? And we know that that will come with some issues, right? Where do you locate it? Who's gonna be the neighbor there? You know, how is that gonna work? But in order to get everybody off septic, in order to redevelop, in order to have business, we're gonna have to bite the bullet and find a way to do that, is what it sounds like. Is that?
Exactly right.
Okay. So it's okay. Is there, what are the next steps in that process? What's going on with that?
The county has a 2050 plan for sanitary sewer that moves out past the 2040 plan that the county currently operates under. These projects, I'm trying to remember, Joe, do you remember what Wayne Hill cost? $1.5 billion? Say it again. One with a B. I don't know how much money that is, but it sounds like a lot. But the Wayne Hill plant currently costs $1 billion, but they have an upgrade that's coming in that's $150 million to that plant. Now, is that still gonna handle this next 500,000 people that move in here by 2050? We have to plan now where we can accommodate that kind of increase in population. This is a great plan to do it.
So I'm trying to make sure I heard it correctly. So it's $154 billion going north to that plan, when you need $100 billion to start that.
150 million, it sounded like, correct?
That's right.
It is going to
Not
upgrade
billion.
Wayne Hill,
Right.
and then we need a billion? A billion to build one down here? Or is that?
We would expect that the second site will not cost $1 billion because we're not trying to reclaim the water that goes back into Lake Lanier, and that's going to be a significant savings.
So I think a next step, so what I'm hearing is like 2050, things like that. I mean, I don't know where I'll be in 2050. I'll be, a nursing home somewhere probably. But I think maybe another step would be it was my take from talking with Department of Water Resources was that, when I talked to them, they didn't have the money yet to do things like that. With the federal money coming down, there is more opportunity to do those kinds of more ambitious type projects. So it may be reaching out to our county commissioners. We've got Commissioner Ben Koo, want to recognize him, and Jasper Watkins, and bringing in the Department of Water Resources to talk about what the plan is for this part of the county, what the timing of laying that out is, and also advocating a bit if people want that, hearing from the community. Do people actually want that kind of change? And I think it's somewhat in the early planning stages, if I'm not correct. Okay, yeah, if I'm correct. Yeah, so, okay, another question. Let me get it. Yeah.
Thank you. My question is in reference to the economic impact. I think all of this sounds great, but we're talking about bringing a large population of people into Gwinnett to work at those various jobs, businesses, small and large. And my concern is that when you bring in all of these job opportunities and you have a greater population, you are dealing with various needs of that population. Right now, we're having changes in the level of safety and security that we feel in our communities as a result of an influx of people from other areas coming into Gwinnett County. I think that the economic impact should also have an area in regards to boys clubs, places where the youth can be developed and trained. There should be a program to prepare the people in the community to work the jobs that are available. Because we don't need to have businesses come here and then have people from outside come to work at those businesses. So we need to do something about the human resources in order to develop the community. Economic impact is great, but we need to develop our people.
Thank you for that. Actually, what Mark is working on, I hear you in that, and we're working, certainly I talk with Gwinnett Tech, with Georgia Gwinnett, with the high schools, building apprenticeship programs, all sorts of ways to try to connect our human capital with these businesses coming in. But Mark, I know you're doing some work in that area as well.
Well, there are a number of workforce development programs all around the area, every level, every government level. In terms of course, as you can tell from my presentation, I'm the entrepreneur guy on our team. And when we work with small businesses, That's one of their biggest challenges. It's really at every level too, but certainly in small business. And so as we develop and roll out the programming at the Entrepreneur Center, we're going to pay very close attention to hiring and how we train our entrepreneurs to hire. And if they can hire locally, that would be great. We can, I mentioned earlier that we can develop programming with communities. We want the Entrepreneur Center to be adaptive. I've told our team we want to be responsive to the community. We're not just going to throw this thing out there and have it be whatever it is day one. So as we grow and as we have meetings like this, we will hear more and more about what the Entrepreneur Center should be. And to the extent it involves workforce development, job creation, matching between our entrepreneurs who maybe graduate out of our center and start to hire, we would be looking for community input that way. We want to have all of those kind of connections.
And I would also hope that money has been identified that's going to fund programs to help the youth, because families are coming out here and they're not necessarily coming with the same values and the same mindset on living in a suburb as what we're accustomed to. And so we need programs that are spearheaded toward helping these families, these youth, these children, not just those who are ready to go in the workforce, but to prepare them from a younger age group. So we need monies specified for places where they can grow, study, do computer training, those kind of things. A lot of the things that the government one time supported in communities are no longer supported by the government. So we can't just generally say it's going to happen.
So it is, and I work, so they're doing, I'm getting the wrap-up sign. But please know you can reach out to my office as well, right? Because I have this sort of the big picture. There's the economic development piece, but we're doing a lot in education, workforce development, making sure people can afford college, but also I just talked to the Boys and Girls Club, in groups like that, and we're working on making sure they have the resources that they need to help those young folks get off to a good start. And I just talked with this young woman who's from the Boys and Girls Club here, and she's at Oglethorpe getting ready to transfer to Georgia Tech. Is basically a rocket scientist, is really doing amazing work. So those programs are very, very good. I think we have time for one more question, or do we have to? Okay, yeah, sure.
Before we take the next question, I'll mention, since I am filling in for my boss, Roman, tonight, who is our redevelopment guy and knows a little bit more about some of the infrastructure questions, I'm particularly grateful to Jim for answering those questions earlier. Thank you, Jim. You do have our contact information on the handout. If you think of a question later, or even the one you asked tonight, you want more clarity, please email me, because that allows me to direct it within. Gwinnett County government is a big place. I don't know everyone, but if you email me, it allows me then to circulate that to the people who do have that information and get you an answer. And I promise you email me, I will run it down for you and get you an answer.
Thank you so much, Mark. I am going to have to wrap up, but we'll be around. We'll have some folks around to answer questions after this. I want you to know this is a high-powered group of folks here who are really working. They're on the front lines, working in economic development in this area. So feel free to reach out to them. They do. They are out there working to get the sidewalks, deal with the crime, make sure we clean things up, making sure that we're bringing in business, making sure that things look good and look right in our community. They don't cover everywhere though, right? And so, as you see other problems in the community, you're welcome to bring it to my office. We can't always solve it at the federal level. I just, flew in from Washington, D.C. But we find ways to join and to make connections throughout the community. And I'm always there working with different types of organizations in the community to build those connections. So